Japan's international status in 1920 and 1919 and its reactions to the Paris peace settlements. Japan became one of the major powers after World War One. Um, Japan wanted to make sure that they didn't get undermined at the Paris Peace Conference. Most countries disagreed and they got rejected because they already had anti-Japanese immigration policies. Japan thought that they deserved more respect than Japanese people opposed the country's involvement in the conference. China was given land in the Shantung province over Japan. They continued their pro-Western foreign policy and agreed to the deals made made of the Washington Naval Conference, something that they were forced to because of how powerful the U.S. and Britain were. While others say that they generally wanted to sign it. Political and economic factors and failure of democracy. Political parties had opposing views and they weren't able to address key issues. Politicians were corrupt and open to the briberies. Main political parties were founded by industrial companies who only cared about their interests. Japanese citizens were against the decisions that the government made. And secret societies were made that tried assassinating political leaders. The military also had an increase in influence, and Japanese materials weren't uh, internationally competitive after the war. And the Great Depression caused a fall in the economy, offering everything such as um, employment, exports, poverty, and more. It affected all of that. The Kwantung Army invaded Manchuria in September 1931 and created Manchuko over Emperor Hirohito. China was trying to reduce Japanese influence in Manchuria, and Manchuria was rich in resources. Some events in 1931 gave Japan a reason to invade, and the conquest of Manchuria uh, shows the importance of the army to Japan's future. Public opinion supported the Manchurian campaigns, and a democratically elected government no longer gave stability to Japan. Implications of military rule for Japanese expansionism. Uh, the Japanese government to justify their invasion of Manchuria. The League decided Manchuria should go back to China, but Japan already took over and created Manchukuo. Japan left the League after this decision, and Japan later then prepared for the USSR due to their interest in Manchuria and signed the Anti-Comiterm Pact. China's army had a small fight near Peking, but in July 1937, there was an incident that led to war. Chinese troops Japanese fired at the Japanese after thinking that their training was real, like their training thing was real, which caused Japan to declare war on China. Japan took over major cities, but the war reached at a stalemate after the CCP and the KMT united. Japan were unable to take over all of China due to how large it was. Some Japanese leaders argued that they should continue being aggressive, while others thought that they should be more cautious. Japan wanted to expand after Germany invaded the USSR and became a military dictatorship. Reasons for Japanese involvement in the Second World War. Japan started a conflict with the US over their interests in the Pacific and the Far East. Japan began invading, but the USA didn't do much till they broke the code and learned about their plans. The US brought more economic sanctions that would force Japan to back down, but they failed. Japan decided to claim they wanted peace while building their army, and President Roosevelt demanded that Japan has to remove their military from the Pacific, but it caused their diplomatic relations to break completely. Japan then launched their attack on Pearl Harbor, which the U.S. wasn't prepared for. Japan wanted to launch a emptive strike because war was inevitable, and an attack. Uh, they thought an attack on Pearl Harbor would weaken the U.S. greatly, according to Japan, and they thought that they would be able to continue with their expansion, and they thought it would also encourage a peaceful settlement. Pearl Harbor wasn't prepared for an attack because the U.S. thought that Japan would target other places. Then the U.S. decided to end their isolationism, and declare war on Japan, which led to Germany declaring war on the U.S. Japan failed to destroy major ships and failed to kill all as much people as they thought, which showed how the failure of Pearl Harbor.